Hello, amazing people. Welcome to today's edition of Trends. My name is PJ. And of course, there's Barry right here in the studio with me. And we have something very interesting to talk about today. Many
It's how PG
perspectives.
has given me the name Barry, guys.
Don't you like
help
it though?
me,
It has
help
a very
me.
good ring to it.
PJ, have you noticed that today we are twinning? I mean, it's giving
You know,
Brown
unfortunately
Friday.
so.
Wow,
I mean, it
nice
wasn't
one.
planned.
It's a Brown Friday, not a Black Friday. It's a Brown Friday.
I could as well just do a quick swap in the studio because I don't want to twin with Barry.
That's
Barry
lie.
is in a
She's
class
feeling
of his
herself.
own. No, I
She's
am
feeling
not.
herself. She's
Always
really
let me
excited.
speak
She's
for
excited.
myself.
Okay.
This
speak,
show is not
speak.
about you. Yes, guys, welcome to today's episode of Trends, and we have something very, 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 very pressing.
Super excited.
Yes, to actually weigh in on, and it's none other than the ongoing, recently finalized because we as we found out that this has been in talks since last year. I think 2023 even, but now Amazon has acquired the exclusive streaming rights to the popular series The Chosen, a historical drama that tells the story of Jesus Christ through the eyes of those who interacted with him. Now, there are many sides to this. Very
Yeah. And I'm saying yeah because
yes, please just
let me
just
play
go
along.
with
I'll
it.
just play along.
Just
Yeah,
go
Barry,
with it.
Barry here for you.
Many sides to this. A part of this agreement that Amazon MGM Studios will also have exclusive theatrical distribution and streaming rights for the season 6 and 7. Some say it's from season 5. Which will portray the crucifixion, I beg your pardon, and resurrection of Jesus. And season 5 is about the Last Supper. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I have quite a number of perspectives to this, right? But I'm going to be I want to be as fluid and as real as possible with this because I hate to sound very religious about things, and I like to be very practical and objective. And for the sake of objectivity, let's look at these in the real sense of it. Number one, The Chosen and the studio and the organization that handles this is first and foremost a ministry, right? But much more than that, this arm that produces this movie that we call Chosen, the Chosen series, is also a business as every other, production houses are. And of course, that will mean that they also get to face the need for the cost of production, which covers a number of things.
Capital intensive things like
exactly,
this
especially for something in that quality.
Honestly,
if you've seen The Chosen, you see the attention to details. You see the cinematography. You see it's worth watching because it is excellent, and nothing excellent comes without a price. So from a business standpoint, I like to also state that it's something worthy of note, right? The 5th season of The Chosen is set to premiere theoretically on March 28th, followed by the streaming debut on Prime Video in June 1st. The show's creator, Dallas Jenkins, expressed his excitement about the partnership, stating that Amazon MGM has proven their passion for the show and its fans. Now, this has brought a lot of controversy. The whole news brought a lot of controversy because somehow it's the fear of infiltration. Could this be the end of the purity that comes with the Chosen series? For a long time, we have not had. Every time now, look at this, PJ. Every time we've had directors or producers, Hollywood try to depict the story of the Christ or biblical stories, there's always a lot of adulteration. It's either they leave out key, information or key aspects of the story, or there is infiltration. They are adding things that were not there, putting subtle suggestions. For example, I saw a news, I don't know how true, that in the next, I think, they're producing a movie about Jesus, not The Chosen, a separate movie, and then a lady was going to play Jesus. I saw that headline somewhere. I don't know how true it is anyways. Now, in that kind of situation, tell me how it makes sense for a lady to play Jesus. What are you trying to communicate?
What are you trying to say?
So these are legitimate fears that people have. And one of the fears that people have is The Chosen is being, if Amazon is taking over the exclusive, what do you call it now?
Streaming
rights. What does it mean? Because before we get, what do you call it now? Before we get sentimental about these things, I also want us to get objective. What does this mean practically? But at a theoretical point of view, just generally speaking, it doesn't look good, because it looks as though why is the church going to the world and all of these things? Are you sure they have not bought him over? Are you sure they have not bought them
Many
over?
Questions.
A lot of questions are arising.
Questions.
But PJ, let me analyze this logically, right? Logically now, I'm not saying that logically is correct, but let me just do it logical analysis.
Sorry, Barry.
It's how you don't forget the name, Barry. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, my name is now Barry on the show. Anyways, so first and foremost, this is a business.
Yeah.
Right? It's a business in the sense that yes, there are a lot of running costs, there are a lot of production costs, and at least this is a studio, so we have an idea of what it costs to run something like that at that scale, at that magnitude, right? And primarily, their only source of funding is the kind donations that people give. Now, let me ask you this question: how many of us have seen The Chosen? PJ, have you seen The Chosen? Any series? I have seen The Chosen. You've seen. Honestly speaking, have you ever donated to them?
No, I have not.
Now, if we do that census, we'll discover that at least 70% of the people that watch that show do not donate. Have never donated, might never donate, right? But then there are costs, there are needs, there are running costs, recurrent expenditures that must be catered for, right? How then do they get the money, and how then do they scale to ensure that they keep giving premium content, to ensure that they are in the face of as much people as possible? So when we watched the interview with Dallas Jenkins, one of the things that he said was how that they need, before he even spoke about resources and all that, he also spoke about the need to be in more people's faces as possible. Not everybody...
For him, he was saying it as though this was about the rich.
The reach. That's one aspect to look at it. If I'm going to be very honest, my personal opinion, and I say this with all sense of responsibility, my personal opinion about this is that it is a wise and a good move, especially for the body of Christ. I just logically speaking now, from a standpoint of logic, because and this is where the good part is, it was clearly stated that Amazon MGM does not have creative rights over the content of the chosen episodes.
For now. I'm going to leave that as... No, this is why I'm saying for now, because we're still being logical, right? In my own logical analysis, I will say, and I would really like us to cut into that video very shortly, but let's just quickly share this. I would say that when we're thinking reach, this is about platforms.
Yeah, true.
And, I'm going to just reference a commentary by Dr. Foy. Some of us know Dr. Foy for being very loud and vocal on topics like this. Yeah. If it's about reach, it is also a call for us to own platforms, because at the end of the day, when you trace when Amazon purchased MGM, it was around this time last year or the year before. Yes, it was more about business. It was more about them identifying MGM as a revenue making outfit that was going to add. So when people like this are thinking, they're thinking long term. They are thinking what has the eyes and ears of people. Remember when they came after Coco Melon? Coco Melon was, as plain as children just loving it. Later we started to see a lot of things being infused into it. It is about the eyes and ears of people. Right now, his own innocent reason, or one of the reasons, might just be for the reach that this is going to give, still making it free as possible. Meanwhile, Chosen will still be free on the app, on the Chosen app. But on this kind of platform, of course, it's a subscription-based platform. Again, business. When you now want to analyze it further and ask a logical question, now that it's said that the agreement only stays in the confines of streaming, no influence in the content, in the creative process. What will happen when another deal might be, put out for them to maybe negotiate those terms a little bit, adjust a few things, and give more rights, to Amazon MGM to just make a few changes in the scripting. It's open-ended. We can't conclude.
Yeah. And while I cannot defend or give an ironclad statement as though I know what they're all about, right? I think we will just have to trust, in the sense that if we have trusted the chosen series all the while to not bring us adulterated and infiltrated content. I mean, we trust their heart, we trust their interpretation of scriptures in, depicting it in the movie Chosen.
Yeah.
We've seen how a lot of testimonies have come from people watching the Chosen. People have encountered God, the love of God, understood God and his message a bit more, right? So I feel like if that's the case, if truly they don't have creative right over it, we might still be safe. But before we even go further, PJ, I think I might want us to watch that video. Very shortly, we'll have the video of Dallas Jenkins, addressing the public. Just a very short 4-minute video thereabout, where he was talking about the perks of the agreement and what to expect. So please take a watch. We'll be back shortly with our analysis and our views on this. Don't touch the dial.
People who, because the show has been on places like Prime probably more than any other platform, they wouldn't normally download a new app. They wouldn't go for a Jesus show that feels like it's small because it's done in this unique, special way, which is great for so many people around the world. But then there's others who just want to see shows where they normally watch shows. And so that's created a bit of a problem. You see, we've needed to expand. We've needed to make sure that we can get our show to all of these audiences, many audiences that we can't reach ourselves, that Come and See can't reach themselves through their ministry opportunities. We also need to sustain our business. We now have over 80 full-time employees at 5 and 2 Studios. We have to not only finance the show, but finance the other projects that we're developing, finance our employees. All of these, there's so many things that happen outside of just the show itself. But at the same time, we need to keep it free, right? I have promised you that the show will always remain free. And so that's been super important to us. And so to do that, how do we kind of find this middle ground? How do we solve this problem of keeping it free while also doing something that's sustainable? And that's been why over the last several years that there's been several times where certain partnerships we haven't been able to sustain because of the fact that we haven't been able to essentially afford to keep going in the way that this show originated. And we also want to do more projects in this universe. Come and See, as I mentioned, the nonprofit that finances the current show, they can only do one project at a time. And they and you as donors need to be focused on financing the production, the marketing, and the translations, 600 languages all over the world, of the current show. That is a huge, huge project requiring hundreds of millions of dollars. And so there's not room for Come and See to go, okay, well, now we're going to do other projects. And we're going to, even though the audience around the world is saying we want more. What more Bible shows can you give us? And we want to do more. And we want to fill the needs of people all over the world to get this show to them, but also other shows. And when fewer than 5% of the viewers, it's probably even lower than that, fewer than 5% of the viewers here in the States and around the world pay for this show, pay to see this show. We just don't have enough resources to keep this show going at the pace that it's going and also to expand into other projects. So what we've done is we have put the show into multiple streaming platforms. You've previously seen it on Netflix, you've seen it on Peacock, you've seen it on Fox Nation, you've seen it on PureFlix at times. I mean, there's been multiple other streaming platforms that you have seen the show on. But ultimately, the streamers are not in the business of having these shows be non-exclusive, meaning available all over the world on so many different platforms. And so several have said, all right, you know what? After season 4, we need exclusivity, right? We can't. There's no more sharing, essentially, where you can just find the show everywhere. And one of the things about that that's unique for us is that when a platform has exclusivity, when they say, all right, this is the only place that you can watch it, at least for a period of time, they're going to put more resources into it. And so that's what we've been struggling with as well, is that even though it's been available everywhere, we get less, Come and See gets less, lower licensing fees because it's not been exclusive to any one platform. And also because it's been everywhere, none of these streamers have had the incentive to really pour resources into bringing in new viewers to their platform. And so it's been on their platform, but unless it reaches the top 10, unless you hear about it from people, you're not actually going to know that it's on that platform because there's not as many resources and marketing being put into it. Another thing that is beneficial to putting it into one platform, where when you tell people where to watch it, you just say this place. It legitimizes the show, makes it simpler to communicate where it is. A lot of people say when they see that it's an exclusive on a platform exclusively, when like sometimes you'll watch a show and it'll name the streamer before you see it, right? It's an original. It's an it's an Amazon original. It's a Netflix original. That brings with it a lot of legitimacy. And so you might be saying as you're hearing me talk, well, okay, we need to keep this free. You're scaring me, Dallas. So we don't want you to go too commercial. I mean, I still see comments all the time on our social media. I feel like The Chosen's gotten too commercial. We oftentimes respond with, a little snarky, but like.
Welcome back. The hearing from the horse's mouth. And that was Dallas Jenkins explaining.
Yep.
There's a fuller video that's about 1 hour 30 minutes plus, where he was just really addressing the public, because I'm sure he's being questioned.
A lot of questions.
Yes, a lot of questions would have been up. In that video, I did hear him say though that this is a question of impacting more people with the movie, with the series. And again, I just want to ask that when we're out for numbers, how far is too far? How far is too far? I really wanted to just take a look at what Dr. Foy had to say about this, and it's very important because he made some points that are worth sharing. He said Jesus needs us to be influential, right? Influence is no longer optional.
True.
It's not a trend, not a choice. It's a must. It must be mainstream, rather, behind the scenes, in policies, silent or loud, but always present. Thank God we're now owning content. Now we need to own platforms. Not just any platform, quality ones. Boring, low quality platforms won't cut it. The truth is simple. He who owns a platform owns the narrative, and we must own the narrative. This isn't optional. Because in that question I just pointed out that how far is too far. I would like us to see this as a story for another day, but we all know that Amazon is owned by Jeff Bezos. When he made that move to purchase MGM, it was strictly business for him. And you want to say,
one thing
does this have any
note,
impact?
Exactly. Sorry to cut you. One thing to note as a concern are the significance of what the exclusive, season 5, season 6, and season 7 are what are going to be exclusive to Amazon MGM, right? Based on what he had mentioned. Now, if you look at this, it gives concern. It gives cause to worry.
Yeah.
And it's because of the sensitivity of what now. I think season 5 ought to capture the Last Supper, right?
I mean, what is it about the Last Supper and these guys? I don't know if we can have that picture up of last year's Olympics.
I mean, at the Olympics where we had the depiction of the Last Supper, but in a very the very very terrible, insultive, and derogatory manner, right? Where that they had to portray. We had drag queens,
transgenders, men.
Terrible. But so people might want to wonder, okay, why at the point where we now have subjects that directly are the let me say the premise upon which our Christian faith stands upon, right? The table, the season 6 captures the death of Jesus and the crucifixion of Jesus, symbolic to our salvation and our faith.
Season 5 is about the Last Supper.
Yes, season 5, the Last Supper. Season 6, the crucifixion of Jesus. Season 7, the resurrection of Jesus. Now, we know, at least as Bible students, that without the subject of the resurrection of Jesus, our faith is unhinged. There is no anchor for our faith. Our faith, literally, and by faith I mean our belief in Christ. The fact that we can have salvation and eternal life is predicated upon the resurrection of Jesus, that he rose again, right? So if it is understandable that concerns will rise, why is it at this point that there's a move to purchase and then there's exclusivity to that platform now? But again, I would also like to say, and that except and unless there is more than what had been stated, in the sense that there actually is a possibility of Amazon having creative rights over the content. If it is true, and if there can be a clause, or if there can be a possibility that Amazon will never have creative rights over the script and the content of the chosen of that series, then it's a win for the body. It's a big win for the body. But where the problem is now is like you rightly stated, PJ. If tomorrow another offer comes, or like I saw some comments online that we were speaking about earlier, some people saying, what if they have dirt on this guy?
Yeah.
What if this whole movie is not innocent? What if it's not just a business arrangement? What if it's him being boxed to the corner and say, you know what, you have to relinquish this? But of course, he can't go out and say, okay, I'm relinquishing everything. There's going to look like foul play somewhere, and then they start subtly. And then I read one of when I was reading the minutes of the conversation and his public address to the public on this. One of the things he said is that he reserves exclusive right to whatever minutes, whatever thing you see, every second in The Chosen, that's the TV series that's chosen.
Taking responsibility
he's taking responsibility for it. Whatever you see, it is a making of his decision. What does that mean? It means that if this guy is infiltrated, if this guy is compromised tomorrow, the whole series is compromised. The whole Chosen series is compromised. It means if there is truly dirt on him and he's being blackmailed, or for any reason, we know how the American Nollywood system, Hollywood, and in fact the whole system, not just America, the world system, you know how it works. They can twist you just money. Exactly, because from my estimation and my observation, The Chosen is currently the largest Christian, the most watched Christian. Series or movie. No, let me just say series as it's there, because The Passion of Christ is still the most watched Christian movie. But the most watched Christian series as it stands as of today is the Chosen. We have millions of people watching once every episode drops. It means that there is a market there, and they want to infiltrate that market. Now, this is a game of infiltration. But let me also say this. When we speak of influence, right? Influence is not done in a day. Influence is not gotten in a day. Influence is a long-term thing, and I agree with Dr. Foy 100% when he says we should get influence. It's no longer a matter of, I want to, I don't know. It's a matter of life and death. There is war, and we as believers need influence. In fact, Jesus likens the believer to three things, right? To salt, to light, and to yeast. Yeah. These three things have one thing in common: influence. Okay. Light influences darkness. Salt influences the whole food. Yeast, a little yeast in a big dough, will influence the dough. So influence is necessary for believers. But I'm saying that before we get to build our own platforms, we must have the excellence, for the lack of a better word. Definitely. That before we build our own platforms, we can be worthy to be top on those platforms, not on the platforms of the world. For example, there's a reason why exactly, and I feel content. Like Chosen has done this to an extent, and that's the reason why they are coming for them and say, okay,
for a crowdfunded series, they have done exceptionally well.
The excellence, the cinematography, the videography, everything is at least is up to par. It's not something you're watching and you're cringing and saying, why is our own case always different, right? They seem to represent some form of excellence, and it has caught the attention of Amazon MGM. They don't, trust me, those guys don't just go for anybody. They don't just go for anything. There are many Christian movies, but if they are going for this, it's because they have seen that, okay, these people match our level of excellence. Now, what does that mean? It now tells us that if you are so excellent, you can get on their platforms, beat the algorithm, become the best that they have so far on the platform. Then when you are exiting with, it's just like when the children of Israel were leaving Egypt. Yeah. The Bible said they spoiled Egypt. Although them being in Egypt at first, God was the one that said it. He said they were going to go to Egypt, right? And it was going to be for a reason. They were going to be preserved in Egypt. But eventually it turned to slavery. Yeah. But a time came when they were leaving, they left with the spoil of Egypt. I'm saying that you can be so excellent in a system, so much so that when you are now living to create your own system, you are living with a lot. We saw the devil did it in a negative way. When he was in heaven and God, and he rebelled and all of that, the Bible says when he was to leave heaven, 1/3 of the angels, when we went to him, there was something definitely that the devil knew, even though it is negative. But there was something to take 1/3 of the angels. He split it into 3 equal halves and took 1. That's a lot. Imagine 1/3 of countless, because the angels are countless. Yeah. Imagine 1/3 of countless. That's 1/3 of countless. Yeah, it's still a lot. It's quite a lot. Do you get? I'm trying to say that I feel like this is not even a wrong move, except and unless there is now an hidden agenda. But logically speaking, this is what we have been praying about. This is what we have been speaking about: infiltration through excellence, infiltration through competence and capacity. Like a show like this can be that good that will attract their attention.
So thank you so much for bringing it from this perspective. It's a very unique one that I really like us to weigh in on some more. I mean, you saying that in the first place, for them to even have made a consideration or a look at Chosen and say, oh, they need this on their platform, means that there's something we're getting right.
Yes, true.
Now, as opposed to creating the content that is sought after, like you rightly said, let us also make it a long-term plan.
Yes.
See, the thing about the body and the kingdom generally is that for a while we've not exactly been strategic.
True.
We've not
Strategy.
been. Yes,
Strategy.
we've not been working with long-term agenda. Because when you see how the devil operates by observation, there's always a long-term plan. When the LGBTQ movement started, they were subtly telling us, see, we are coming for your kids. It wasn't even about the generation at the time. It was about the one coming after them. There must always be a long-term plan. Let's
long-term plan.
Let's actually hope that, just as we've seen Dallas Jenkins mentioned, that this is about, it is not just about what it is on the face value. There has to be something more. See, and what really gets to me is that, see, the moment we're trying to play catch up, if you're playing catch up with a system that has been strategically laying precept upon precept, an agenda for over 3 decades, and you're catching up with them at a decade where it seems like, okay, thank God we're now creating our own content that can now, be at par with these guys. It means that they are also like still way ahead.
10 steps ahead.
10 steps ahead. So for how long do we want to be catching up?
True.
Now, at this point, more than ever, it's the need for us to be voracious. If we've been following Apostle Femi Lazarus, we've been on something very, very, very instrumental, I believe, in these times.
The Word Immersion series.
The Word Immersion series. And, I'm so
like
glad.
to recommend it.
Please go to YouTube, follow Femi Lazarus on YouTube, and you can always go back to all of these sessions. He's been dissecting so many things about the fact that it is always about numbers.
Yes.
It's always about your value system. It's always about standing up for what you know is for the kingdom. Right? We've seen sometimes that where believers tend to compromise in certain systems. Which is why when I looked at this, yes, we can say it's a win for the kingdom in terms of, more people are being reached. But is it really because those who are the ones opening up these platforms to you actually they're the ones that bring the bargain to the table? You get it. You are the one who you go back to consider their offer. We're not the one exactly dictating it.
I would just say that if we were in the time of Daniel, a lot of us would tell him not to serve in the capacity he served, because honestly, what he was doing was treacherous. It was not treacherous, but it was a difficult terrain.
Yeah, it was literally in the midst of wizards.
I mean,
which is
it was so serious that his colleagues are not the regular guys. His colleagues are not Harvard guys. His colleagues are not blue collar guys. His colleagues are babalawos. His colleagues are malams. His colleagues are the ogbonis. Those were his colleagues. Those were the people he was rubbing shoulders with. And of course, you have to interact with them. I'm saying that truly, if the game of infiltration, so this is what I'm saying. I don't know what Dallas Jenkins' plan is and what the structure and the leadership of Chosen are doing. I just hope that it is what I'm thinking they are doing. And what I'm thinking is that this is a calculated plan of infiltration. And if there's one thing that I've taken out of a lot of sermons from Apostle Femi Lazarus that I've listened to, is how that if you're going to infiltrate, you must have bargaining power. It's not just by saying you must have bargaining, and that's one thing that Chosen actually have. This movie, the Chosen series, has, because it is excellent. To at least at its level, it is very excellent at its level. The storyline, the cinematography, the videography, the line of thought, and then the keeping with scriptures, attention to details, right? Some of the things that were said, telling the story of Christ without you watching and cringing. This has not really happened in a long time. In fact, if you watch The Passion of Christ, I think that's about the only movie that they even tried. But even at that, if you analyze closely, you see certain omissions and additions that were not necessary, right? But what I'm trying to say in essence is this. Just like a believer being on Instagram or a believer being on Facebook. You're on Instagram, PJ.
Yes.
I'm on Instagram.
Yeah.
Now, me being on Instagram, I scroll and sometimes I come across cringe content that are not good. I mean, I come across sometimes even ladies dressed that are half naked. But it's my responsibility to scroll past, right? Because I know that I am there for a reason. I'm also creating content there that is blessing other people. So I'm part of those pushing light on that platform. It therefore means that if we decide that what we resort to is to avoid these platforms because we feel like they are going to infiltrate us, it is a game of infiltration. Who has the strongest power will infiltrate. Even being in the world, I like something that I think it was Pastor Chingtok that said that. He said that it is okay for the boat to be inside water, but it's a problem when the water is in the boat. In fact, the boat thrives when it's in water. When it's on land, it doesn't move, but when it's in water, it thrives. That's its ecosystem. But the moment the water begins to get into the boat, there's a problem. Now, the believer also is supposed to be like that. We're supposed to be in the world, but we're not supposed to be off the world. In other words, the world is not supposed to be in us, because we ought to lead. That's our ecosystem. That's where we thrive. That's where we shine the light. That's where there's darkness. I mean, so if we are thriving and shining our light in the dark, it means that our light is going to be recognized. What I'm seeing in essence is this. I feel like if care is not taken in the church, we are all talks and little works. We can be very pumped up about an idea until it's time for execution. And then we become the very people that
AFL said that.
Yes. I'm telling you, we become the very people that fight those that are doing the work. So you say, let's save the prostitutes, let's help the drug addicts, and then you see someone going after them, and you say, is that the ministry? Is that the gospel?
Is that what Christ has sent us to do?
Same believers saying those kind of things.
True.
And then the same believer is saying that this is the ministry. Jesus was speaking. He says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he has anointed me to bring healing to the captive, to bring deliverance to the captive, healing to the brokenhearted, and all of that, recovery of sight to the blind. When you read those things, what do you think is the manifestation of those things? When people begin to do them literally, we stand and say, all you should do is preach Christ. While I understand that we should preach Christ in what? What do you mean? How would you bring that to reality? The love of God extended toward man can be seen when you help someone that is poor. It can be seen when you heal someone that is sick. It can be seen when you bring out someone from addiction and help them to be rehabilitated back to life. You have preached the love of Christ to them, not just in words, but also in action.
Very, very profound. But I want to just make references to a few things, particularly because we've learned on this show and even generally in life that nothing is just as it seems. Right?
Yeah. There's more than media.
Yeah, there's more that you know that we need to dig into so much more so we can really weigh in on this objectively. Yeah. Like we always like to do. So there's a very similar news that came up, side by side with this one, and I would like us to have that picture up of Cynthia Erivo. She's going to be featured as Jesus, in another Christian, series entirely. So we have one of our correspondents who weighed in on this and shared her thoughts. Ibn Abba, she says, anything to perverse the sacredness of the faith, right? We saw that last year's Olympic opening where we had transgender up depicting the Last Supper. And when we did a side-by-side with the actual illustration that we have of Jesus having that Last Supper, it was a total mockery. So she says anything to perverse the sacredness of the faith. They think of normalizing doctrines that we as Christians hold dear. They'll make it less sacred and pull people out of the faith. Funny how this is working, but people are on Enrivo's page saying if God loves people, why are Christians so mad they are bringing light to the faith? I really feel for the fluidity of this world, it's ridiculous.
My God.
So, someone goes up to say that, if Christians are saying God loves everybody, why should they be mad? Because Cynthia Erivo is openly an advocate for the LGBTQ.
So the issue is not even what the issue is that why would a lady depict Christ, Jesus, that is clearly a man? What narrative are you trying to sell?
What are you trying to say?
That's a mockery. No, let's before you say I dare them for Cynthia Erivo, Cynthia Erivo to go and play Muhammad. I dare them. Because now, of course, we know whom we have believed, right? And we know that we are not violent people.
There was an openly gay imam that's been shot.
Shot in South Africa. He was shot in South Africa. While I'm not supporting that.
Of course, definitely.
I'm saying that he was shot not in an Arab nation. He was shot in South Africa. Right? That's tell you how much they don't tolerate that kind of thing. Of course, we have been taught just the same way Peter cut that guy's ear and Jesus put it back. That's not the way to go. Our warfare is not carnal, it's not physical, right? It tells us that there is an agenda, and now they are not even hiding the agenda. They are not hiding the agenda. I feel it's disrespectful, because if we live in a world that claims that we should have mutual respect for people's opinion, people's perspective, people's faith, and yet we go about ridiculing other people's faith, in the sense that now a woman is going to depict Jesus, and we know that that ideology is directly antagonistic toward our faith and what this faith stands for. Is, for example, someone they want to shoot a movie about Islam, and then the first scene you see a pig. Now that's going to be sacrilegious to them, to the faith, because that symbol, that animal is symbolic to them. It's symbolic in the sense that it is haram, it is wrong. I'm saying that it will be insensitive for maybe me now wanting to do a movie about, or a documentary about Islam or an Islamic nation, and then the first thing I'm depicting is a pig. No matter the innocence of that scene or that action, right, I have communicated something. And that is wrong. If we are talking about being tolerable and, tolerating people, it doesn't mean that you go about, desecrating people's faith. And let me just say that for those of you watching, big shout out to you guys, right? You can drop your thoughts on this, right?
There are numbers. Some of your comments.
Exactly. There are numbers displayed on the screen right now. You can send us a DM, a WhatsApp message, or you can send us a text, and we'll be so delighted to read all the messages you have and your contributions and your thoughts. And those of you watching via YouTube, here's your cue to drop a comment in the comment section. Let's know where you're watching from, and let's know your thoughts on this. Do you have concerns? What do you think about this? Good or bad? What are your thoughts? Right? So, PJ, let me ask you.
Yeah.
What do you think is the agenda here?
Well, when I saw this, I just knew straight up that this was an attempt to actually just make mockery of the faith, like Ibn Abbas said, to make what we hold dear less sacred. True. To just outrightly, because even recalling the last years, and I'm really pained about that, that's why I keep bringing it up. An apology, a flimsy apology was put out, claiming that this had nothing to do with, the Last Supper. It was just an illustrative way to open the Olympics. You cannot say that there has been, this brings to mind that there was a time where this was really trending, where it was said that God is not a man. Do you remember?
A lot of things are trending.
A lot of things went down at that time, where God is not a man, and then angels should not just be depicted to be male, and all of those things. Glad that at least now Trump is in power, and some things have been stated clearly, right? Seeing that a woman will be playing the role of Jesus.
This whole thing stems from feminism.
The demonic side of feminism.
Yes.
If this is largely sponsored, not just by the feminist movement, but by the Hollywood attempt for years. We've seen that Hollywood for years have been trying their best to just bring to shambles, the person of Jesus, making him look less of who we've read in scriptures that he is. Again, some people will say the blacks should be happy. She's a black woman. Oh, you've not seen that side of it.
I have. Because I'm just trying to reason the logic.
At least for the longest, they've always said Jesus is white. Why the blacks have said, why should he be
So are they no white black men?
Thank you, my brother.
I don't know. Like, it doesn't make.
Do you understand?
It actually doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. So there's the feminism side, there's the race side, there's the non-binary side that they are clearly attempting to sell. Now, there's a side to this where they're saying that this should catch Trump's attention, because he came into power, signed some executive orders that seem to have been, and I know they would have been plots. This was a supposed major comeback. Because there's little or nothing that he can do in this regard. It's Hollywood. If the president is beginning to meddle in Hollywood matters, they are trying to also put the president to shame and ask questions as the whole president discussing on or having opinions on this. It has so many sides that don't hold water.
Sure.
It makes no sense. If we're saying that we want to have, because they claim that there should be no, at least now that should not even stand in the United States. There should be no transphobic people. You know, that time when Biden was in power, he put up a law that transphobia is even a punishable offense and all of those things. You claim that whatever it is anybody identify as should be respected. Why make light of the faith? Why make light of the Christian faith? Why mock it? Why bring up an agenda that looks like this is trying to say Jesus can be anybody that we want him to be? Highly disrespectful.
I think at the end of the day, the world's clamor and fight is not about many religions. It's just about the Christian faith.
If it didn't matter so much, why make a big deal out of it?
It does.
If it's not the truth, why try to always attack
so it matters too much. So it matters so much. So what they do is that they do the plot to destroy the faith is done underground. Is covered. Is done in a systemic and in a covert way.
Systemic.
Yes, in a covert way, so that people don't know. Because if people see that, okay, clearly this is an attack on the Christian faith, everybody will wonder, okay, why are you attacking the Christian faith? Is there something about them that is true? Is what they're saying true? So rather than coming out to attack the Christian faith, they hide, they masquerade it. They do a lot of decoy movement. So through that masqueraded, that cover-up way, they are fighting the Christian faith, but putting out a facade that these guys don't matter. That's the reason why you hardly see.
You will pay so much attention to it and go to this extent to discredit what you think doesn't matter.
I mean,
it doesn't make sense.
It's crazy. But just to touch back on the Amazon issue, PJ, I will just say, my prayers and my thoughts are with what's his name?
Producer Jenkins.
Dallas Jenkins, because
sending prayers to him.
Because he has stepped into a treacherous terrain that I feel we need to be in, but also I don't know if he's equipped for it. I just hope he is. And like we always know, you don't prepare in the battle, you prepare for the battle. So I believe, and I also hope that he has been prepared for such a time as this, because it's a slippery slope.
Very.
You could say, we're saying something. If he has any dirt and they have it on him, right? If he has any secrets in his cupboard and they have found it, forget that series is gone. It is so gone that they can depict. I saw somebody put up a comment and say, hope they won't depict John the Beloved as gay, because you can want to say, oh, okay, the way he was described in scriptures, his relationship with Jesus, his closeness, he looks like,
This is the series that that would be coming out going forward. Season 5 to 7, the Last Supper, crucifixion, resurrection, where highly sensitive times in the ministry of Jesus.
Highly sensitive.
And
even to our Christian faith.
Yeah, the end of his life was like the beginning of ours.
Yes.
So why at this time? There was season 1, 2, 3, 4. All those times, Chosen was already out there. They were already, getting the recognition from many other platforms. But why now?
I also just say this. This also calls us to stop being childish and forgive me to use the word, stop being foolish as a church, in the sense that when we say things like it's not about money, God does not want us to prosper and all that, that's an uninformed statement. That's an uninformed confession, because we clearly see that one of the major reasons why he would agree to a deal like this is because they need resources to continue. And honestly, unfortunately, the church is not willing to support. Not many people in the church have a revelation of giving. We are only loud on fighting people from giving. We never give. It's understandable if a giver says, stop giving. Oh, I've discovered. Is those people that don't give are the loudest people that fight, are the ones that fight against giving, because I don't even understand the irony of the whole logic. Is funny. So there is clearly a need for finances or financing the gospel. Do you think that, you think if, let's say, the Chosen Studios had about, say, some $2 billion in their within their system to use for running. Do you think they will need any of those kind of deals? A lot will be able to be achieved. And imagine there was a multi-billionaire sponsor that they had, who is a Christian like Joseph of Arimathea, that would say, you know what, every month I'm going to be donating about $10 billion. I don't know how much they have, but let's say like $200 million every year to this project. I mean, there would definitely be no need. They could easily and conveniently build their own platform.
So true. And I quickly want to weigh in on that. When Dallas himself was addressing the question of if The Chosen will still be free, he said it will always be available for free, streaming through the Chosen app. He said during the live update he was giving, and he's going to follow through on this promise. It will always be free, but he added that the series availability on the app will look slightly different moving forward. So following the 5th season's complete theatrical release on Prime Videos, yes, after the exclusive 90 days streaming that will be on the app, it will now be available for free on the Chosen app. Again, it's about the numbers that will come in that 90 days.
Yeah.
A lot will happen where everybody will be rushing to go head over to Prime Videos to watch the 5th release, the season 5. And again, just as we've rightly said, see, it takes, salvation might be free, but it takes funding to propagate it.
Yeah.
The work that these guys have done for a crowd-funded project for this number of years is commendable. Because sometimes donations, you don't just leave it to the discretion of people. Many times, how partnership runs. You have to initiate it. You have to instigate it. You have to put yourself out there to ask people give to this project. They have done well. I mean, so like you said, how much more when they now have a strong force of funding that is able to be channeled to this, there will be no need for us to be even having this conversation in the first place. But yes, it is what it is now. We have...
I would just say that I just checked the statistics about how many people, watch Prime Video, not just Netflix, just Prime Video on a daily basis. And the statistics shows that about 180 million to 200 people logging on a daily basis to watch stuff. So that's
a lot.
That's about 200 million people that Chosen series can reach potentially. Of course, not everybody would, but potentially.
Yeah.
So it's, let me say this: if Jesus was alive, Jesus will go where the people are. Right? The gospel
because
needs to
been
go.
Sent to the people.
Yes,
actually.
the gospel needs to go where the people are. Let's not be sentimental, right? My own concern, however, is the authenticity, the sacredness, and the purity of the message. And that's why I'm sending prayers and thoughts to Dallas Jenkins and the whole team, that God will keep them. Even like Daniel, they'll be like Daniel in the treacherous terrains and all that.
And
PJ.
be found wiser. I mean, it's a good time to take a drink to this conversation.
I know, right? But PJ did not give me drink.
I did give you drink.
I finished it.
Yes, you finished it before the show even started. It's been an amazing one. I don't know if we have more comments. Maybe I should just take one from one of our correspondents and just call it a wrap.
Yeah.
So we have one here. The devil doesn't have the power to create something new. He's a copycat, and he just does counterfeit stuff. He will use the people of God. He will use the people God wants to use as the opposite of what they should be. Do. I saw on a lighter note now, I did see a funny video about how demons laugh when they've been able to convince someone that they are non-binary and cut off their genitals. I feel like that's true, because sometimes the devil just instigates stuff, put a very weird plot twist, trying to copy what God is doing. He takes his time to really observe how things are playing out. And just like it was said that if he had known, he would not have crucified the Lord of Glory. I feel we should always just look at the side where there must be a grand plot twist where God cannot be defeated. The devil could instigate as much as he can and bring some things in quotes, make some things that is to propagate light and turn it to darkness. But at the end of the day, God's will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And that's our prayer again for the chosen crew. We do hope that they are, having a strong backing by the body, the Christian community over there, praying for them, also helping them, giving the advice that they need in these times.
On my final thoughts, I would just say that these are calls to we Christians to do better with supporting Christian creatives, right? We are the first to criticize when someone does something or has to agree to a deal or a system.
Not as loud on our support.
But when it comes to supporting, we don't see them, and then they have to fend, they have to survive. While that's not an excuse, I'm just saying that is a call to do more. And a lot of lessons to be learned from this whole story and this whole situation, right? Secondly, the need for financing, the need for resources for the gospel is empirical. You cannot. It's unputdownable. I mean, we need resources to achieve much. And then thirdly, the issue of influence cannot be overemphasized. Now more than ever, we need influence. Now more than ever, we need influence because we see that it's a power play. The world is a power play stage, and the man with influence takes the day. Finally, the need for excellence cannot be overstated, PJ. The only reason why Chosen will catch the attention of Amazon MGM in the midst of many Christian creators doing many stuff is because there's some level of excellence that they have achieved. And let me say this, excellence can be achieved at any level. My 2 cents.
So there you have it, guys. That's our 2 cents on this topic. If you'd like to still maybe share your thoughts, there's a number on your screen. You can send a WhatsApp message to that number. If you'd like to join our global team of correspondents across the world, we onboarded someone recently, Nakali. She was watching live, and then she showed interest, sent a message to that number, and then she's now been onboarded as our France correspondent.
Amazing.
Yeah,
super
so if you
amazing.
like
Big shout out to all our correspondents across the world.
They're doing amazing.
We do celebrate you.
Yes, and please subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to Ambience Television on YouTube. Share the link as well, and we would always be on your faces bringing you kingdom perspectives to any trending news.
And let me also say this. You can partner with us. We just spoke about the need for Christian creatives. I mean, it's a lot to do this, you can imagine, right? So if you like to partner with what we're doing here at Ambience TV, like to support financially, however you like to partner with us, please do well to reach out to the number or WhatsApp, the number being displayed on the screen, and we'll be so super delighted to hear back from you. Till we come your way again next time, bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for joining.